Yo, what it is, it's your man, MCK Ski, also known as Bars by Bilal, or you can just call me Ak. And this is another episode of Beyond the Lyrics. Thank y'all. We here at B-Side Radio, also the Beaumont Theater, or Beaumont Studios, rather. And I'm here with a very, very special guest. The one and only, the Archivest.
Yeah, it's the Archivest, y'all. Sure to check the archives. We out here.
Yeah, so how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So it's the end of summer.
Yeah.
How was your summer?
It was all right. It was up and down, but, you know, at the end of the summer, I definitely got it done. So
Yeah.
It was a lot better than what I expected. I had some things that I wanted to do that I was aiming to, you know, proceed with, and it didn't actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but hopefully next summer I'll be able to do that and get her done.
Yeah. Well, you know, this it's all about timing. Sometimes we think we're ready, but it's not the right time. And then when the time comes, we find out that this was supposed to happen at this time. So,
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was my custom lowrider bike I wanted to get built so I could have cruised, you know, on the seawall and did some things. It was a bit of a comeback, and then I didn't get it done the way it had to because some issues happened and I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
So we here though, and now we doing it for hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we just celebrated not too long ago the official 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Hell yeah, 50 years.
50 years, man. Can you believe it?
That's right. 50
Can you believe it? See, a young old head like me, I was kind of there at the beginning. So yeah, it's just a lovely thing to see, you know, and all the events that happen, not just around the world, but even in the city. It seemed like it was a lot of.
Oh, it was beautiful. You know, we had a lot of magical moments that you know went on, and like shouts out to Junk and Jay Swing for the 50-year anniversary that we had in Vancouver.
Yeah. So you went to that what was it, the Hollywood?
Yes, I was doing my thing, like, you know, doing photos and videos.
Who were some of the acts that performed at that event?
Mocha Only and Prevail, Split Sphere. That was a one-time, like,
some
exclusive show up for them to perform. I've never seen them perform together.
Yeah.
I've only seen them perform as Swollen members.
Okay.
But that was really cool to see them and hear some of their old beats back from the 90s.
Yeah.
Vic City what?
So that's dope, man. To witness that event.
The legendary Rascals, of course.
Yeah.
And then see, you know, people like the Rascals put on for the new. So shouts out to Boslin, who really impressed me when he came through. And he was really good. I got to meet him for the first time.
Okay.
And that was really good. He's been putting it on for the city for the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah. Who else was there? Junk did an incredible video with Flip Out. Like, he did the actual premiere of going from 1973 to 2023. We'll reverse it. 2023 to 1973, and freestyled on every different beat with Flip Out with the videos in the background.
What?
Yeah. So
that sounded like that was an epic evening right there.
Sure was. Yeah.
Mad that I missed that.
Yeah, it was legendary to be there.
And I heard it was packed.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. Like,
that's what's up, Vancouver, showing love for hip hop.
Hell yeah, that's what's it.
Yeah, supporting the legends and stuff. That's one thing I definitely noticed with the 50th anniversary is that people are showing their respects to the pioneers and the legends, which is good to see.
Yes.
Because a lot of times they get neglected.
And shouts out to my boy Joel, who was there with the Rascals.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. So yeah, man, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you.
And start the interview off. Tell me, how'd you get interested in hip hop, and how old were you when you got immersed in the culture?
Well, my first like actual preview of the culture was back at Massey Theater, where they did a showcase, and it was for Kickin'. Shouts out to Maximilian Spohr, who actually did the premiere of the Kickin' documentary, and it was featured on Much Music for the West Coast.
Okay.
And so Ghetto Concept was involved with that, like performed, and from that whole thing, it was just like a scene of like, you know, Ndidi Cascade was there, all sides.
Shout out to Ndidi.
Yeah, and they were starting to do a showcase. Like we had a thing called Hoodstock, 98. And it was a feature of all the various talents from the Northwest all kind of coming together, because a lot of people came from Washington to come up here, like Wojak and Criminal Nation and stuff like that. They would come up here to get their buzz. Yeah. And then we would have people like, you know, Alchemy Crew, which, you know, wasn't really, people know about what was going on with there, but they did their premiere. And there was definitely a couple people. Rick Threat was there. It was all back in the day, but that was my actual showing of what the culture was. Yeah. And it was showcased at Richards on Richards.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so basically I was in this video actually kind of dancing in background as a fan, you know.
Okay. Background dancer. Like Scoob and Scrap.
Yeah, I had this Nike, like with the leather cuffs. Shouts out to James and Rob at Eastside Urban Wear. I had that on, and I was just had my spiked out hair back in the day. It was all good laughs. But I was in this video, the 3 seconds of fame, you know, and that's kind of what I was like. Oh man, what is this all about? So, preview after that, I met another fellow, and we went to alternate school, and he was really immersed in the culture.
Okay.
And so he was all about the woo, and he was all about the different people. And so his crew was, you know, he was connected with the Alchemy Boys.
Okay.
And that was, you know, how it all kind of started. And so I was affiliated with them because I was hanging out with him. And so it was kind of like all love and good times, but they were actually making moves like in different ciphers, getting out there, and we would roll as a posse.
Okay.
And so we call it 12th Avenue Boys, you know what I mean? It's 12th Avenue Kingsway, and the boy Dave Jackson and Wayman, they were the guys. They had these like parties, basement parties. And we had, you know, the Fly Ladies, and then different people from all different culture, like from Surrey to wherever, Coquitlam. It was because I was in New West, so we had this like kind of get down, you know what I'm saying? And we used to rock the party, and it was Buddy's mom's basement, and they were upstairs and he was downstairs, and we would just rock out all night, you know. And then ciphers would happen. People would come, you know, this was before effing was created and all this. People would come here and do performances and just cipher.
And you said this was like 98, 99?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what's crazy about that is when I was in high school, shout out to my man James Botley and Linda, and rest in peace Bud, and Dana. It was a house, and they had a basement, and we would go there and have basement parties. And man, we learned, you know, we built our skills down there in that basement. You know what I mean? You know, rapping against each other, putting little shows on, and they had that as an outlet for us to keep us out of trouble. So. Was that kind of the same thing? Was this like an outlet for...
It was an outlet, but we used to get live. Like, you know, the 5-0 would show up and all sorts of stuff. Like, you know, fights out in the backyard, and, you know, people having too much to drink, and then, you know, going up the street and coming back and so forth. But then when we mashed out, we had one moment that was like really legendary. It was... you know, it was like a New Year's party, and basically we weren't invited to this spot, and I don't know, it was just a misagreement, but we came like 80 deep, and so we had the homies from like graffiti artists to the guys with the boom boxes to the guys that didn't give a what, you know what I'm saying? Kicking the doors, whatever you got to do. We had the G's lined up with us. Like, it was really serious. The MCs, the B-boys, the B-girls.
So y'all brought the whole culture.
We just mashed. And we'll think it was like 2-3 buses full of us. And like, it was a New Year's Eve. Okay. And we just... like, you know, mash. I was part of this walking down the street. I remember it was walking down Broadway. There was like 75 of us, like
Wow.
80 of us, something like that. And like even when everyone got off the bus, like they kicked out the windows, they broke the freaking seats.
That sounds like a hip hop party.
It was really turned out, you know. And then we got to the actual party, and then they were like, "No, you can't come in." They just kicked in the door, and it was like, "This is our party now." What? You know what I'm saying? So that was a moment, right? And to see that, like, you know, homies like hanging off this bus stop poles and climbing up and just acting out, you know what I mean? Yeah. People just getting like, you know, intoxicated and just not caring.
Yeah.
It was just like, that was a moment, you know?
So you said it was New Year's Eve. Was that 98 to 99 or 99?
Yeah, 98 to 99.
New Year's Eve, and y'all mobbing down the street 75 deep.
Shouts out to Word One. He knows what's up.
And it was just to go down to a party, or just y'all just wanted to represent?
We just wanted to represent, and we showed up at this party that we weren't invited to.
75 deep.
Yeah, it was not a game. Shouts out to Big Dave Jackson on that one. He had all the gold rings, the big gold chain.
Shout out to whoever the bouncer was at the front door.
No, we had no bouncer.
There were no bouncer. Oh, y'all just showed up?
Just the back door and showed up. It was like, what up? Why ain't you here? What's good? And they're like, nah, you can't come in. And they're like, we're going to show y'all what's up. We're going to take your whole house party, and it's ours now.
That Public Enemy, yo, bum rush the show.
Yeah. And we called ourselves that's what it was, Vandals of Van Smooth.
Okay.
VOVS.
Okay. Yeah. As soon as you said Vandals, I already know what type of energy that's on. So were you rapping? Were you graffitiing? Were you DJing? What were you?
I was just a spectator to the culture, and I loved it. And I was hanging out with my homie, and he was like the guy that MC'd and into the ciphers. So I was kind of just like low key. And then as time went on, I started a studio. So I started a music studio, and that's kind of what we did. And so shouts out to Cy, Select Your Element. He was the guy that got me into it. Okay. And basically we started the studio, and we made an album. It was a freestyle album. It's all freestyle by him, Select Your Element, a.k.a. Cosmosis. Okay. And the album was called, what was it called? This is a freestyle album. Just give me a sec. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we had that, and we had this single called Still Sexy.
Still Sexy?
It was a necro beat back in the day. Like the Get On Your Knees beat. Yeah. And so he just rapped this album. Oh, it's called The Greatest Hits.
The Greatest Hits?
Yeah, it was all freestyle. And so we did that, and we sold 500 copies in a month, just hand to hand. For him.
So y'all was hustling for real.
He was, and I was the guy in the background that always did the recordings and just the things, mixing, doing things. Yeah. And so, you know, he would get blunted, and I would get blunted, and I would just hit the start button, and then we'd just freaking go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we actually made this serious hit of a mixtape before mixtapes really came out. Yeah. And then we took beats from mp3.com. And we would use those. Wow. So people thought they were our beats, but we would just get out and we would just do the damn thing, you know? And it was great. And then we had, and then before that, he had another thing. It was called Voice Internal Freedoms Allowed. Okay. So that was the other project we did before that. Okay. It didn't really actually get that much traction. Yeah, traction. But then we did Third Eyes, which never really came out, but it was like another thing. Okay. So I tried to take it back and get him in with one of the top engineers in Vancouver, which was Roger Swan. Mm-hmm. And he was going to redo the greatest hits. And we were going to re-release it, but he was going to write it and then record it and kill it. But it never actually came out, but it's that was the start.
So, I was about to say, pretty much your first entrance, you were a studio owner. Yeah. And kind of engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then from that whole point being, I got involved with the homies of Fresh Coast. Shouts out to Emotions, who got me involved. Like, I was just the kind of the guy that supplied music and beats and stuff, because I was into the music, like the MP3s and stuff. So I would always help people with their music to get noticed. And by doing that, that was kind of like my starting platform. And so people would give me their music to like put out on my archives and then keep it for them. So if they ever lost it or something happened, I would, give them a copy again if they would lose it. Because a lot of people, you got to think of all the artists, they're all irresponsible or something happens or whatever. Well, you're the guy who's going to keep my stuff, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's basically what happened. And so I would do that. And that's kind of how I got my buzz, because I was like out, and then people would invite me out to events. Yeah. So then I had just a little digital camera, and I would come and I'd jump into the cypher and I'd capture it.
That's crazy.
I was that guy. And then I started to get a camcorder, and then that's how kind of everything kind of started. And before all that, I was just filming shows, concerts, shouts out to whoever put on the Damian Marley and Stephen Marley show. That was back in 2006. But I snuck in and I had a little camcorder and I kind of held it like this in my jacket. And I filmed the show, you know what I'm saying? I was out in Whistler. I never got to meet Stephen, but I got a picture with him. I think after that, we got invited to Whistler, though, to go actually like back to the show and stuff. So that was really cool. And then I got to meet Damian Marley as well. Okay. That was kind of my start. Okay. And then I started going, I need to, get out there and do some things. So I would go to events, and then I met DJ Jazzy Jeff. Now, how it started with me is when it comes to music, my first album that I heard, because I was not allowed back when I was like, I think 8 years old. It was 1988. Parents just don't understand. So that was my starting, and Vanilla Ice to the extreme, and that era, right? MC Hammer, Too Legit to Quit, Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em, all that stuff. 'Cause We Pray, right? All those back in the day, and so that's kind of what got me started. Okay. And then so when I met DJ Jazzy Jeff, I was like, I got a picture with him. I was like, man. Wow, I'm just blown away, because I used to listen to this album, the song singles with Will Smith and him. And so that's kind of, and then, I met other legends after that. I started to do a thing called the Wall of Fame. So I would take pictures with people and say, hey, I got you on the Wall of Fame. And then I would start and have these little CD, like the burn CD inserts. And instead of like throwing them out or writing on a track list or something, I would actually put it out and get them to sign it to me. And so I would meet someone like Jazzy Jeff and go to Archivest. And then that's kind of how I started my little autograph collection.
Okay. It's crazy hearing that, man, because you're like pretty much, you're starting your legacy back then. And I'm pretty sure you didn't know that at the time, but it's just incredible to hear. Yeah.
So then after that whole kind of point being, I started, meeting these people and getting into all the shows. And then because I had the camcorder, now people were like, yo, you got to come to this or do that. And I would start filming people, their sets, and just, that's kind of how a lot of people started and did their thing. And I got the niche for it. Then I kind of started my own thing. Like, people would come up to me and go, yo, can I kick a freestyle for you? And then I started my channel. It was like low key, like, because I was rapping as well. Okay. I went by the name Vertiflow. Okay. And so I made albums back in the day. I did an album called Instruction and Exposure. Okay. So as I was diving into the filming, I was also into the studio stuff, plus I was making my own music too. Okay. Grant P was the guy who did production on my album, and that was kind of 27 tracks, all low-key, beatboxing with cats, collabs, and just on a boom bap type vinyl, grimy feel. Yeah. But telling stories and doing some things. And then that's kind of how things blossomed for me. Because I was working with Cy, and then I was doing my own thing, and then but the camcorder thing was the big thing.
Yeah.
That was the moment. And then I started getting into a thing called Monday Night Live. And Monday Night Live was a place where literally, shouts out to Emotions, as well as Cass and Lou, and other people that were before that, because it was like 14 years or something, or like a long time of, like, every Monday night, people had an open mic. And for $5, you'd come in and you'd see 3 acts.
Okay.
Or 4 acts or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'd come in there, and when I was working with Emotions, I would come and do filming. And so I'd film everybody's set. And that's how I documented that golden era back in 2008.
Okay.
And so now those footage moments were incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You still have that footage?
Yeah. And then, as we did the Monday Night Live, we had people like, Cunning Linguists come, Lucky MPSC from Living Legends, of course Clockwork from Seattle, which was back in the day, Zion I, rest in peace to Zoom, and it was just like we had these little highlights of different people, Life Savers, Gift of Gab, just people would come and do their concert. Rest in peace, Rock Rada. We had Rock Rada do Monday Night Live.
Rest in peace.
So we had those moments that were like the start. And then, we had, after that, we did the Rent Money battles. The Rent Money was just a battle. People would battle each other, and then whoever come first, would get a ghetto blaster with the Rent Money number, and then they'd win money or whatever. And that was like a trophy, a title.
Okay.
I think we had 14... maybe 15 Rent Money battles, and they would completely go, and that's kind of what it was like for people to do their thing, and it was a highlight. This was before KOTD era, right? So we're talking before KOTD, and that's like, and then that's kind of how it started. And then after that we had the Monday Night Lives, and then yes, other things would start out. So then we had opportunities with KOTD that would actually, they came up to me at first, hands down. And basically that was a connection through organic. And it was Wordsmith. Shouts out to Wordsmith. I'm going to keep doing it. He was the one who introduced me to organic. And then we kind of put a little something together, which was, hosted by Sunreal.
Okay.
And those are legendary battles. It was Aspire versus Paper Chase. And then I think Young Sin was there, and a few other people. But it was pretty incredible. And that was the start of our birthing of the West Coast KOTD, Vancouver KOTD.
Okay.
And that kind of blossomed. So I was filming for that too. So I would film different battles and take photos. And that's kind of how I would get my thing. And then pre-release to that, then we got into... just at the end of Monday Night Live, I had one moment, and my moment was because I already was like going to the Richards on Richards before Richards on Richards ended on a unfortunate occasion. We had the opportunity because I was at the show for Sean Price, rest in peace now.
Sean P.
Yep. R.A. the Rugged Man, and Ill Bill.
I heard it.
And that was an incredible show.
Yeah, that's a dope lineup.
So I had an opportunity which, like, I'd be filming, and Ari the Rugged Man actually grabbed my camera. He flipped it around. He shook it all around. It was, like, crazy. That was my moment where people would see, like, what I was doing. And I kind of was, like, featured, and that was, like... So after, we're talking maybe a year later, because RA used to come a lot to Vancouver, and I had an opportunity to meet him again at Monday Night Live. So now, after all the accolades of things were already starting for me, I had the chance to ask him just randomly, hey, you want to do an interview? And I don't know. I had my camcorder. I don't have anything. I don't no professionalism, nothing. I'm just come through, and we'll go shoot shit and talk some questions. And I thought about what could I actually do about this? What would this be for a highlight for me? So I started, and it was random. We would go have pizza, and then we had a chance to go meet up. And then it was funny. We went through the hotel, and then when we were going up to his room, he was kind of like telling the people like, "Oh, don't mind this guy. He's trying to do an interview, whatever." I was just like, because it's just funny, you know, a rapper coming bringing someone else into his room. But I was trying to like just get the quiet, like, personification of what it was when it comes to doing interviews.
Yeah.
So I thought, and then so this was my chance to say some things that other people might not know or say. And so I asked him some crazy off the wall stuff, but then I didn't really know him too well, and I didn't know his music, unfortunately. So I wasn't really enthusiastic. It was his stage presence that caught me. And so that was my first interview. And people were looking at me like, "Oh, how could he do this?" Like, blah, blah, blah. And I just kept staying in my lane. And I just kept going strong. And that was kind of the start of my history. Yeah. And then I had a couple more interviews, which I got Joel Santana from Dipset.
Hey.
And then just, you know, DJ Who Kid. And we were in a limo with like 10 girls. Shouts out to Global Syndicate, and rest in peace Pie on that one. Yeah. Like, yeah. And so they were like, you know, doing some things, and they brought him. So I got to be able to do an interview with DJ Who Kid.
That's
from
crazy.
G Unit.
So your first interview was with R.A. the Rugged Man.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. So what I got a question to ask about. So you said in 88 you got on to Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned 98 when y'all bum rushed 75 Deep.
Yeah.
So in that 10-year period, who was you listening to? Were you getting more and more into hip hop, or?
Yeah. Well, I was more into like 3 6 Mafia, and I was into like the Bay Area West Coast G-Funk. Okay. But I also loved Nas.
Okay.
You know, It Was Written. That was a classic. I was into Wu-Tang Clan. I loved GZA. You know what I'm saying? Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the start of the highlight of what I like to listen to, you know? Okay. And Tales from the Hood soundtrack, Menace to Society, Don't Be a Menace While Drinking Juice in the Hood, Friday, you know? Friday, like all those soundtracks, right?
Back in the day, soundtracks used to be the joint.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It was, I don't know how it is now, but back in the day, soundtracks was it.
You had to have it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was a great look too for artists, especially if you coming out, if you're able to get on the soundtrack. You know what I mean? Especially those movies like you talked about, Friday, Menace to Society. You know,
GZA Liquid Swords, like I said. And then what else was it that I had? Dr. Dre The Chronic, of course. Exhibit, At the Speed of Life.
Yep.
These were all my high school highlights. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then from that whole point, then I got into Master P, and I got into No Limit Records, and that was my shit. That was my shit. So I was like one of the guys back in New West, and you know, Ice Cream Man was the hot shit, you know, and so that's kind of what got me into the more like G type stuff. And I followed that path because I was also into downloading music and learning about it, because we didn't worry about those originals back in the day compared to what we could get or not get. Now they're like, you know, artifacts, which, you know, I've had to build my CD collection 3 different times.
Oh yeah.
But now I got the collection of what I've always wanted. And that's Vancouver hip hop, that's some West Coast G-Funk, that's No Limit Records, that's, you know, out the yin yang.
So you still got the CDs?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know, from collections of Bone Thugs and Harmony. And then I have my own collection. So fast forward to the interviews of everything and people I've worked with, I got them to sign the CDs to me. And specifically, so I have a nice collection of different people.
I like how you were thinking back then.
It was 2010, but, you know, it was like 2011, 2012-ish. But I, like, you know, my highlight was 125 interviews in 1 year.
Yeah.
In 2011.
That's crazy.
And then the end of that was KRS-One. And that was just like, you know what I mean?
Blew it away. So before we get into that iconic interview, I really like how you were saying about you was videotaping the show and something just just prompted you to go to RA and be like, hey, I want to interview you.
Yeah.
You know, so it seems like you were finding your path.
Yes.
And I like you were a risk taker, seemed like. You was like, hey.
I would get out there, and the thing is that was really funny about me, I took risks, I didn't care, and I would even bombard someone and get them in a corner if I had to. and get them trapped and be like, yo, tell me about whatever, you know what I mean? Because there were people that were trying to hold me back.
Yeah.
There was things that I couldn't get to be able to get to a certain point. So I had to always make a point or prove myself to like get out there and do the damn thing.
Yeah.
And that's what people actually couldn't either see or handle, because if they seen me, it was like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of what kind of got me started on the path, you know?
Okay. So just that determination, that grit.
Shouts out to Mom. She knows what's up. Yeah.
So again, I like when people give their stories and stuff, because certain things to highlight, like determination and grit, because when you're doing it, especially from an independent standpoint, there's going to be trials and tribulations. There's going to be challenges. So it's good for people to hear you share some of those insights. So what were some of the challenges you had that you faced on? What are some of
I lost 2 YouTube channels.
Okay.
That was a slap in the face, like seriously, from the lowest local stuff to, you know, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I lost certain things. It was copyright infringement issues or music or whatever. It's not about that. It's not even about monetization, for example.
Yeah.
It's just the highlight of things that I would do, and then they would say, like, you can't do this or do that. And then, big FUs to the guy who promised me something and then ran with my idea and literally sabotaged my channel because he wanted to create his own monetization through my name, and then dragged me through the mud and take all my stuff and put it in his name and cash out. So stuff like that, and then, when I started my own, like, somewhat label, someone took my name and my logo style and incorporated just to make a point. Oh, we do interviews with local artists, this, that, but we're incorporated, so that's the highlight of what we do. We have money, you, some don't, so you don't have time to protect yourself, so, you know what I mean? And so that was a hardship. And then, like I said, losing that channel that I did and everything that I put into it, like, I got over 1 million views independently, unique views from people, and I was one of the first in Van to do that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Just to highlight certain things. And then I rebranded back in 2016.
Okay.
And that's where I got this logo, and shouts out to Sabrina on that one. She came through and created my legendary logo, where it would be the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
I also went through 4 different logos. I went through a hardship of people saying they're going to do me a website, they're going to do this, they're going to create this animation, and then stick something right out on me after and say, oh, we get this rights, we get this contract, we get that, because you didn't pay us this or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like really, really tough to deal with certain things when I'm trying to build or network or try to understand other people's standpoints. So I've gone through challenges, and then basically at the end of everything, when I was like really climbing to the point of, meeting people like Richard Branson and getting photos with him, or like a personalized autograph, or, I got to meet Drake, when he first started, Wiz Khalifa, to name a few. someone wanted to come and sabotage my whole entire thing. And it was really, really tough to go through. I went through 3 years of it, and it was a constant thing that was happening. And I'm gonna put this out here just for people, because a lot of people don't know where I went to.
Yeah.
And sometimes we take hiatuses, sometimes we take rests, sometimes, but this was a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, because you seemed like you put so much in building, and you was starting to get that traction, and
then I got blocked at a lot of shows and promoters, and people weren't liking certain things. Like, I had an opportunity with Grandmaster Flash, and that was gone. And certain things that I had, or I was showing up for, or working with somebody, and then that falling apart, to the point where I just worked so hard to get certain things. Like, and I'm not going to say it, but, I was supposed to sit with Bone Thugs and Harmony. Other people got their opportunity, but I didn't get my slot. So then I made phone calls, and I started making moves and going, hey, I need this interview. And then making it happen. And going over these fools' heads and being like, yo, this is the dude.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to remain my humble spot and just keep pushing. And then even people didn't want me in van, so I would actually kind of go like on a hover type level. I would say I would be here, or I'd be there, or I'd be there. I'd never tell people where I'd go. So I'd go to Vancouver Island, for example, and go sit with like Trick and Dub C and D12. But in Vancouver, I couldn't get it. Or I'd go and say, oh, you want me here? Or I can't get Ice Cube in Vancouver, so I'd go to Chilliwack. And then I get Chilliwack, and then I get a chance to not be able to meet him because someone's like, oh, you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't do that. So then I ambushed him at the end, and I got my picture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I threw the dubs up right in front of everybody, and I'm like, I did that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And no one has a picture with Ice Cube. So it's like, thank you for those reasons, right? And same with Snoop Dogg and all the different things. I've had opportunities, and then of course I would always get drops. So now I have all these legendary drops from all these people. You know what I'm saying? Which built my repertoire as well. And shouts out to RZA. He was the one that gave me my first shout out, and I got a picture with him.
That's a huge shout out.
But because shouts out to Red One, I was the reason how I got backstage at Rock the Bells. And then that was the start with Nardwar. So I met Nardwar. Shouts out to my man Nardwar. That's all day, every day. And so some people thought I would sound like him, but I have my own niche, my own style. But he got me in an interview with the legendary Supernat, who is one of the best freestylers around the world.
Supernatural, yeah.
And so I got to get in the interview with Nardwar. And that's why I wear this shirt. And it's the Van City Archivist. And so basically I would, hand out items for Supernat to rap about. And that's how it started.
Wow. Yeah, Supernat was a beast.
And that's what inspired me to start doing the interviews and doing all that, because I had that push, and then next, I'm sitting with Slaughterhouse and talking about their careers, or, certain things like that. And it would just keep rising up, to the point where, 2012 was a bit of a crash. I lost 140 interviews. I'm still working on getting them back.
Yeah.
Hard drive crashes. Of the place where I lived, and then I had the studio, but I had a couple legendary moments. Like I had Cannabis come to my studio. I had Dub C, Rocka even came in from Dilated Peoples just to come say what's up.
Yeah.
And I had a couple people that were there that they would do collabs or hang out, and Books from Dawes Effects too. Woo, came to my spot, man. Shouts out to Boogity Books.
Yeah. Dawes Effect, Diggity Dawes. Yeah. That's one of my favorite groups, definitely.
So that was really cool too. So all those moments, and then I kind of became on the hustle as well because I would do the collabs and set up collabs for people. And that was another thing I did, where I did Tash from the Alcoholics. He came to my studio, and then Dub C, and then Ritz from back in the day, Strange Music.
Okay.
He worked with Junk and Hungry, and did a music video. So, and then like I said, the legendary moment with Dub C and Vicky Chand.
Yeah.
And so all those things were all part of everything else. Cy did the connect with Illa J and Frank Nitty and Cannabis. So we were doing a lot of different things that we were trying to move. And then I did the legendary moment with Rasul. And he was from Germany. He came here and he put me on to help record his last EP before he passed.
Oh.
It was called Writing Colors.
Oh.
And so that was another thing that I did, because I had the vocal booth and I was doing all these things. And then after all that, I was still collecting music and still out there filming. So I was a busy mofo, you know what I'm saying?
And one thing I kind of pick up from your stories and stuff is that while you had these challenges, which a lot of time, you know, when we trying to do things, sometimes we had that doubt. And we question ourselves, like, should I give up? Should I stop? What am I doing this for? But then, do you find that whenever you battle with those doubts and stuff, you had an opportunity that came up that was like, oh, this came up at the right time to keep me? Do you? Because that's what I get from your stories. It seemed like you had these opportunities. Like, not only did you have these challenges, but you had these milestones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That help keep the wind in your sail. So do you, like, as you look back in retrospect, do you see it like that? Like, man, if I wouldn't have had these milestones, I would have just...
I don't know. I mean, some things would happen and some things wouldn't. But it would kind of fluctuate. So there was a lot of opportunity that I had, and I would write and I would appreciate or create and have that opportunity to do that interview, and then I wouldn't get it. So I put in a lot of hard work. I actually have a booklet at home. It's probably about like that thick of just writing interviews, because I wrote everything. And then what I would do after, I would get the shout out from them and then do the interview. And then at the end of the day, I would get them to sign the interview just as a state of love and their autograph. And then, you know, after that whole point being, we were just going on the next level with it. You know what I mean? So it was just like, that was the accolade and highlight. But yeah, it was just a whole different level, like, for those different things. But not to get those other interviews kind of hurt me. Yeah. Because there was moments, though, that I wouldn't get the interview. So this was a crazy story. I tried to interview Taleb Kweli, and it took me 7 times to try and get it. Yeah. I finally got it in 2016. Okay. And I did the interview with him. But,
well, and again, I think it's just a testament to your grit, to your, how they say it, stick-to-itiveness.
Well, Ritz gave me the name Bulletproof Mind. So they could try to fire shots, but they can't get through.
They can't stop. Okay. So that's
how it happened.
Talking about this iconic interview with one of my favorite artists, KRS-One, and you know, I saw KRS-One and with DJ Scott LaRock when I was in high school in '87, right before I graduated. Wow. And right before DJ Scott LaRock got killed, and like it was crazy because it was KRS-One and also MC Shan. So that show, and shout out to DJ Cheese. DJ Cheese started as the DJ cutting it up, and then I think Biz Markie came out and Big Daddy Kane, and then MC Shan, and this was the bridge and Kill That Noise. And I never forget when KRS-One was rhyming, when he did his show, he kind of heard some people in the audience when he was saying South Bronx. When he did the song, you can hear a little bit of noise from the audience saying "Kill That Noise," and so he was encouraging them. He was like South Bronx, and they was like, people was like, "Kill that noise." And then when he went into the bridge is over, the crowd lost it. We was like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? And it was very inspirational for me as an artist just to see how he commanded the stage, how he, another story before you tell me about that interview. One of my favorite songs was I Got a Dope Beat. That was on his first album. And he started the song and the crowd wasn't feeling it. And I remember he was like, should I take it off? Should I take it off? And he took it off and went to another song. And it was dope and all, but I was kind of mad because I was like, man, that's one of my favorite songs. But just seeing how he was able to read the crowd and give them what they wanted. You know what I mean? And that, to this day, that stayed in my mind as just him as an entertainer, him, doing this thing. So what was it like meeting him? And tell me, how did that interview came about? Because you told me some of that story, which is crazy.
Shouts out to the hip hop gods is all I can say for that one. Holy man. Yeah, that was like, that's another enforcement of determination, perception, believing in what you can do, not taking anything from anybody, believing in people that got your back, and just go with it.
Yeah.
And I had a team with that. I had interns, I had people behind the scenes. Shouts out to my homegirl Lo. People that would push me and they would believe and know what I could do with it. Because in Vancouver, I knew had no opportunity. But shouts out to people that knew of my work outside of Vancouver. So I went to Vancouver Island to experience, get on the ferry, no sleep, 20 hours of research, all these types of things. I even had my intern help create the questions because I was so nervous. Because I was just like, this guy is everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I manifested it as well, in 2006. I remember listening to his newest album. I think it was Keep Right. And I was believing and listening to that album. And I thought, one day I will meet this man. I will be able to have this opportunity. And it was just like, it happened. And so I got on the ferry. We did this. I showed up. I did everything I should have done. I was upgrading, so I had a DSLR camera and I had all these things. I was prepared. And I went with it. And I remember showing up at sound check and hearing that I was like in line with my team and we were there to do something. And shouts out to Simone, because she's the one who put me down for that. That's his wife. And I spoke to her and I just said, I'd love to do an interview. This would be a magical moment for Canada. And, I've been doing a lot of hard work throughout the last little while. Preview 3 days to that, I was with Ernie Panicoli, who is involved with Universal Zulu Nation. And he was the photographer for Source and Rap Page's Vibe back in the day. He got, legendary pictures. And so I was with him and I asked him what would be the opportunity to meet KRS. And he kind of said, well, I'll put something in your ear or give you some feedback. But the main thing was Shock G. He was the one. Rest in peace now.
Shock G, yeah.
Shock G, because he was the guy who said, I did the best Digital Underground interview of all time. And that was just like, it blew me away to have that opportunity. And so when I talked to him, he said, oh, well, because we exchanged numbers, we had emails. He wrote a little paragraph for KRS and said, put it on your BlackBerry, whatever. That was back in the day. Yeah. And so I had my BlackBerry, and so I came and I met up with KRS, and she said, okay, well, you get a couple minutes. We shouldn't be doing this because we're not doing press at all in Canada. Like, this is just what it is. And we don't know really what's going on with it, but it's just not going to necessarily happen. So I sit in, I come in the room, his presence, like he's a gorilla, super tall, like great guy. And I sit down and he just like lays it on me. And he's just like, so what makes you think that, you could just do an interview out here? Because in Canada, we're doing no press at all. And I'm like, I don't know what I can do, right? I'm kind of like not even expecting this. But I said, well, I can tell you just on behalf of what I've done, and like, you know, I can do a great interview. We got some excellent questions, you know, we'll see how it goes. But I got a message from someone to give to you. And I gave him the BlackBerry, and then I gave him the little email. And he's like, yo, what's up, it's Shock G? You know, what's up, my brother? I'm here with Archivest. I'm just letting you know, like, so I got the cosign.
Yeah.
And then he just like threw the BlackBerry. He goes, get out of here. He's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, what? He's like, that's like my best friend. I'm like, what? Really? He's like, my brother. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, well, how much time do you need? Or like let's just get it rolling. And I'm like, what? And it's just like, and then it just happened. The magical moment happened.
Wow.
And so I got that legendary interview. I was the only one in Canada of 17 tour dates. And we just went into Stop the Violence movement. We went into everything, you know? And it was just a mind-thrilling experience. This year, I just re-released it for the fans. It's on YouTube, on Check the Archives. And I kept it raw. So I re-released it. Before it was edited, and it was just like whatever. But like now it's like crisp, and it's raw, and it's there. And that's where all these highlights have come this year. Like, as doing this interview with you on behalf of like Vancouver hip hop culture and stuff like that, I've had some really amazing things happen this year because of that interview, re-releasing it and like rebranding it and putting it out.
Yeah.
So it's been like, you know, so I re-edited it and put it out. But even still living that moment to this day, after that all happened to me, like, he actually wanted to do a part 2. And then he even wanted me to come on tour with him.
What?
For his doing his things in the morning, like washing his face. Like, he was really into it. He's like, my brother, he's like, you are so good at what you do. I want you to document me in Canada. And I was just like, wow. Yes. I didn't have anything. I didn't know what I could do, you know? And it was like, it was an opportunity. I literally was ready to pack my bags and leave. You know, because I was like, what? This is crazy. Like, how is this happening? You know? And then unfortunately, it didn't happen, but I had that feeling. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I guess this is meant for me to do this type of thing for the culture and for, you know, everything. Like, I got to keep doing this. So that's kind of how it started.
And that was a dope discussion. What was that about? Was it 3 hours? Almost.
It was about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
But then I did Shock G after that, the next year. And I got to sit with him for 2 hours and talk about his life, which you can also check out, which I've released in his legacy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to release it when he was around. A lot of things kind of happened and whatnot. I was working on it, but I never got to put it out. But now it's fully out. Okay. And everyone can enjoy it and see it, and it's up there for good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that was another legendary moment. But we did that in Bellingham, Washington. So we didn't actually do it in Canada.
What year was that?
2012.
2012. Yep. Was I in Bellingham? I wasn't in Bellingham yet. Okay, 2012. Yeah. And then what was it? 2011, you did the KRS-One?
Yeah. November.
Yeah. So he did a 17 Canada tour. Yeah. A 17 show tour in Canada. Yeah. And he did no press except for you. Yep. Because of that message that Shock G hit you up with. Yeah. That's crazy.
I know. I'm just like, wow. Right? And all of a sudden after all that, everything just started rolling. You know, I ended up sitting with Mac Miller when he was 19. And like, that just blew me away. You know,
talented dude.
Then I got sunglass sponsors coming. People were giving me clothes. They were like, yo, what can we do? How can we sponsor this? How can we do this? Like, it was coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anytime you go to an interview, can you drop my name? Can you put this logo on your stuff? Like, you know what I mean? It was like, I didn't even know what to expect. It was just like, it was a grind. People loved the hustle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in Western Canada. It was Eastern Canada. People in Quebec, people in Ontario, they were looking at me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
They were appreciating what I did.
What you was bringing to
And I even had people in Seattle and Portland and California and Oakland. Like, people were looking at me of what I was doing. And it was a legendary, like, thing for it to happen, you know?
And who? So after Shock G and KRS-One, who were some of the other interviews?
Man,
out of your 1,500 interviews that you've conducted.
Yes, 1,500.
1,500. I messed up on Instagram. I said 13, but it's 1,503.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who were some of the other epic interviews that you?
I did 3 with Killer Priest.
Ooh. One of my favorite songs is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Inspect a Deck.
Ooh.
I haven't even put it out yet, but it's still lost in the trenches.
Yeah. You got Inspect the Deck, man. You talking about one of the illest lead-off rhymers and stuff, man. Just, yeah.
Rakim.
You got an interview with Rakim?
The God.
Yeah. What? Oh, that's definitely one of my favorite artists. Him, KRS-One, definitely.
Still working on Nas, but I got AZ.
You got. Ooh, when did you do that interview?
That was in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I got put on with him and DJ Premier and Bumpy Knuckles, Freddie Fox.
Ooh, like I don't think people understand. Like these are legendary man opportunities that you had to interview some legends. Primo, Bumpy Knuckles, and AZ of it.
And the one of the highlight majors is Pete Rock and Premier together.
Wow, that's too much.
Shouts out to Red Bull on that one. Red Bull put me on his.
That's too much dopeness in one setting.
No, I mean they're all different, but
okay.
Those moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that's huge. Pete Rock. One of my favorite albums is Pete Rock, CL Smooth, their first album.
I tried for Pete Rock and CL, but I'm still working on it. But
yeah.
they know what's up. And, like, shouts out to Pete Rock for sharing that KRS clip this year.
Yeah, and you said
on
that
his Instagram.
Yeah, once he shared that, you got all this.
Yeah, it was.
Your Instagram was blowing up.
Yeah, that was a highlight. That was a real highlight this year. It happened in March, actually. Yeah.
So you posted that and he.
No, but like Hip Hop Stories has come through and they posted some stuff, and that was how Snoop and Ice Cube shared my videos. That was like, you know, Boom Bap Nation. So
Boom Bap,
they shared it. Shouts out to Boom Bap Nation, and when they put it out, Pete Rock seen it, and then he shared it. But my logo was on there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Ooh, that's a great
logo's on there.
That's a great opportunity. And so what other interviews that you had that sticks out in your mind that was either legendary or certain circumstances?
I mean, Chuck D from Public Enemy.
What? Oh my goodness, no. Chuck D?
And hearing the crowd in the back going, Chuck D, Chuck D, Chuck D. Like, I'm getting him just before he's going on stage, right?
Ooh.
And he seen me because we met at the Battered Women's Society. It was like a panel.
Okay.
And then he seen me, and then I got leads from one of his homies that was like general involved with Public Enemy, and I showed up. And then, even though people didn't want to put me on for the show or have me as media or whatever, I got in. And then I met him, and then he connected me with Chuck D and Flava Flav, and then I got my drop, and then literally Chuck D. This is crazy. Shouts out to Chuck D all day, every day. But he's like, "Yo, you're coming to roll with us." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you're coming to roll with us." So we get in front of the hotel and get in the van. And I'm like rolling, and then we just literally go for around the block, and then into the back, and then backstage. And literally, like, I'm rolling with Public Enemy.
Wow.
Up the steps of the Commodore. And just like with General Mike and Key Shockley. And you know what I'm saying?
So it was the Commodore show. Me and my wife went to that show.
I was backstage.
What? Yeah, we went to that show. I
was filming backstage with my JVC Avario. It was crazy.
I know I was pissing the people off in front of me because I was singing the words to every song and stuff. But you know what was so crazy? So we parked in the parkade, and the parking was up at midnight. So we had to leave right before they did Fight the Power.
Oh, no.
I know, right? I was like, oh, no. we had to leave right before they did fight the power because they was going to close the gate and our car would be locked in. So, but I didn't even know Flavor Flav was going to be there. So when he came out and he had the jacket on with the hood the hood over, and he came out there and everybody in there just lost it and stuff. So you were able to interview them both?
No, just Chuck.
Just
D.
Chuck? Okay.
Yeah, but it was
you
cool.
met him.
I got a picture with him.
Okay,
I was just like, yo, so crazy, man. Yeah. That was a moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And shouts out to the general who put me on with that. He just grabbed me and he's like, you're rolling with us. Like, it's all good. And I just like rolled up and it was just like, he knew me. Chuck D was like, you're all good, Archivist. Like, no problem. We got you, dog. Like, whatever. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
So I got this autograph, and they did like the PE, and then like it's like on 2 pieces of like those CD inserts I was saying. It's taped, but it's like everybody from Public Enemy, like the guitarist. Remember the guitarist? He went crazy, right? It was just like, woo.
Well, even like when they started the show, you can tell, was it Hank Shockley?
Yeah.
He was walking around, and just when they started, and you can hear that boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, like they all about that.
I've never put that interview out yet with Keith Shockley.
Yeah.
I still have to find it in the archives. But that was a moment, man. That was just like, yeah.
And some other interviews. I know you said you did not the Loonies. Did you?
No, I did Yuck Mouth.
Yuck Mouth. Okay.
Yeah, and he said I did the best one of all time with him. And that was actually really funny because we were just like rolling out and we were in the hotel room. And I come from Canada, so I went to Bellingham. Once again, I got the invite. And so I got the invite to pull up and get down with Yuck and Spice One.
Okay,
Spice One. So I went there and I got with Yuck, and it was after the show. And we mobbed, man. And it was like, it's so different. Like, I don't mean to say it, but in the USA to compare to Canada, total different invites, total different vibes, total different everything.
Yeah.
It was so welcoming and loving. Even though as a crazy Canadian I am, going down there and getting the love and so much like respect versus what I would get here in Vancouver. So that's why I started dipping out and I started going places. And I would get people to help me out, get me a ride, this, that. I'll get you backstage, this, that. You know what I'm saying? We'll make it happen. We'll make magic. We'll make legendary moments. And that's how it started. You know what I mean? People would invest and just do it. And then we would just go anyway. So we're sitting with Yuck. And he's just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't really do all this. And then he has like 9 dudes posted up against the hotel door. Like they're ready to go to the strip club. They're ready to do this. They're ready to do that. It's all good. And I'm just like, I throw a couple questions. And he's kind of like, blah, 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 blah. And then I start really getting deep. And he's like, okay, hold up. This is over right now. Like, we're good. But all y'all that are waiting here, get the hell out of here, man. We're busy. You know what I'm saying? We got something to make. We got history moments to make right now. Get the hell out. Go have a good night. And he's like, it's just you, me, and you, big archivist. Like, let's go. And I was like, what? Wow. And I didn't even have a written interview. I had to do a choose your own adventure. And I had all these, like, pieces of facts and things. And I had like a spider web, and I just said different things, and I like put it all together. And that's how I just did it. And it was just like a magical moment. And then after that, he's like, yeah, boy, like you fucking did it. Fucking, that was crazy shit. Like, I'm so proud, like, to do that. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like on the West Coast, Loonies, man. I got 5 on it. Like,
I was just playing that on the way here.
And then just, you know, before like with Shock G, because he was part of that, and then meeting 40, like E40, and it's just like having those moments. Water. Never got to do the interview with him yet, but just those are the people. I was all about Sick with it, and I was all about that, you know. And so to sit with Yuck, and then after that, he was like, okay, I'll bring you down to Spice's room. And I'm like, what? That was Spice One and built with him. What? Did a big interview with him talking about like Bay Area everything. And that was just like, that was my highlight. 2014, I was like, man, I'm going up. You know what I'm saying? Like, those, and that's still to critically acclaim, like with what I've done, to sit with Spice One was like a huge moment for me. You know what I mean?
Man, these are legendary artists that you've interviewed and that you have. Some you release and some you still have in the archive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lots in the archive.
So you said you used to go down to Seattle, which is crazy because you know some of the same artists that I know when I was down in Seattle.
Hell
When did you start going down to Seattle?
2011, when I met up with A-Sun.
Okay.
From Universal Zulu Nation in Chasm.
Okay.
And they were connected with Fresh Coast. So that was the in to know. And then when I sat with A-Sun, that's how we got connected with Universal Zulu Nation to try to bring it to Vancouver. And then that was another bag of worms.
Zulu Nation.
Aki, yes. My kings and queens. But so I did an interview with A-Sun. He freestyled, he went off, and then that was the bridge of bringing our communities together from 206 Zulu to 604 Coast Salish.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing. And so what I would do is I would take the train and go down there.
Woo, how long was that? Like
about a couple hours.
Hours.
But that was a moment when I met up with Tech 9. And then with Tech, became Brother Lynch Hung.
Okay.
And Brother Lynch was with Ritz, and Ritz would be with J-Rock. You know what I mean? All those shows, and because it's so different from here to like Seattle or like the highlight of the shows. Like Tech would do a show here with just Chris Calico. Mm-hmm. Down there, he got everybody. Yeah. He got crazy trucks. He got miles of people lying down the block. Yeah. He got a merch table that isn't just like one merch table. He's literally like has like freaking 4 or 5 tables full. So that was like, you know what I mean? That was legendary to see that. And another highlight for me was when he pointed at me and actually told the whole crowd who I was. He's like, yo, shouts out to Archivest from Canada. Make some noise. And the whole freaking Soapbox Soto freaking cheered. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's probably like me. Some of his boys couldn't make it up to Canada, couldn't get across the border and stuff.
Right?
Because some of my boys can't get across the border. So when you do shows down there, then it's like, okay, all my peoples can come.
Hell yeah.
So it's the Showbox, you was down there?
The Soto.
Yeah.
Front row.
Yeah. I performed there before. Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's a big venue.
Yeah, it's nice spot, man. And that's dope.
So I went down and I did that. Got to like just witness seeing Black Star, which was Mos Def and Talib Kweli together. That was another weekend I did. And then I got in with the local artists that were coming up, or guys that were connected with the Nomads crew, or Khalil or Kings. He was connected with Gabriel Teodros, and so like that whole Fresh Coast again. It was like the 20604. So I would connect with these guys as a highlight when they would come up here because they would know me down there, and then I would network with different people that I wouldn't know, and I'd learn about their music. Like shouts out to Nima.
Yep, Nima.
He was like holding it down.
Unexpected rival.
Shows and promoting
Mr. 10,000 CDs out the trunk.
That's right. And he would call me and be like, yo, Archivest, you gonna come down to Seattle for this or do that? And I'd be like, okay, I'll come down and see what's up with whoever's doing what. Yeah. And another trap was going to witness the Mafia 6. Rest in peace, Kupsa Nika, and now Gangsta Boo.
Yeah.
I had that moment where Kupsa, Crunchy, and DJ Paul are talking about their legendary history of the 3-6 Mafia. And then Twisted Insane. Shouts out to Twisted Insane. Be able to have him the way he chops because of Ritz. Ritz shouted me out, co-signed me to sit with Twisted Insane. So all these things were all conglomerates of other things that I would do or people I would work with or whatever. And that's kind of how I got the cosigns.
And it seemed like networking
Yes.
is definitely important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very. So I would learn all these different types of things that would, get me to the points of what I was working towards. And I even had points that people were, to what I was doing, they wanted to actually have me like as an underground paparazzi or do this or shame celebrities or this. And I turned them down. Hollywood North, they wanted me to go in because I would do my interviews and all that stuff. And they were like, yo, you want to make some good money? Like, we can do this to put you on. You know what I mean? If you're willing to sit out or do this or do that. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not going to shame people that have done their thing. Or I'm not going to try to make something off someone else like that. That's not a good look.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to be able to say that, it's just like at the point and the pinnacle of what I worked towards.
Yeah, yeah.
People like that were approaching me like, yo, what can we get you on, man? Like, you're in Seattle, you're here, you're there, you're there. The biggest thing that I loved about it was the haters when they used to come up to me. They're like, yo, man, where you at? Like, where you been, man? Like, I heard you were in Vancouver Island the other day. Or you were in Victoria. Or, yo, you were,
in Seattle,
or Burlington. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, where do you live now? And I'm like, oh, I'm just visiting. But I was here the whole fucking time. You know what I'm saying? But people would come up to me and be like, yo, well, where are you living?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yo, I'm just visiting. Or, if it was real people, I'd be like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those types of highlights, and that made me feel good, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would get up in my ears and I'll say certain types of things. Like, even the challenges like we were talking about, like, I wasn't even able to, like, be able to, like, how the industry is, how you're able to be in the crowd. They wouldn't want me to film on stage, or they don't want this, or they don't want that, but other people are able to.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to be in the crowd, and I'd have to deal with other people that were, like, shunning on me. And so I went through some, like, horrible experiences that people wouldn't, like, let me get in front or whatever. They'd push me or try to start a fight or whatever. And I would have to put up with this just to document whoever, however, and they would keep me from going backstage because I was trying to do things.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was just unfortunate. But, yeah, those were the challenges that I went through.
Well, yeah, but, it's crazy because that's your story, part of your journey to document this culture. Like we was talking before the show, like, hip-hop needs the people with the cameras, the people to document this history. You know what I mean? And yeah, your stories of what you had to overcome. Again, I look at it like these are lessons that you can share with people, because other people that's coming after you who wants to get behind the camera and do that, you letting them know, okay, you're going to have some wins, you're going to have some L's.
Yep.
But if this is what you want to do, you stay the course.
Yep.
And I think also too, just to hear how you were able to get other interviews because of the work you put in. Again, another testament to how good a job you was doing and how you made people feel.
I was really good at breaking the ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you think that, like, when you talk about breaking the ice, like,
I get them comfortable.
Okay.
And then I usually would take it back to the old school when they first started, or I'd talk about something, and that's like kind of how I got like the start with Nardwar, because I'd be like, I'd dig kind of like he would dig, and then I'd throw something at him like, yo, this elementary school or this or that, and then people would say, what?
Yeah.
What do you know about that? And I'd be like, yo, tell me about how you got started, like how you guys were like, in the room, or you were at this school or this or that. And they'd be like, say what?
So you did your research, and
I would put 24 to 48 hours of research into each artist that I worked with. So that was the highlight of, being able to do that. And like I would sit there, I would watch music videos, I would read, I would watch other people's interviews, I would study the music, I would pick things out from the music, and I'd be inspired. Like it's almost like lighting your soul on fire, and just going with it and believing everything you can do. And then I would do those write-ups, like sitting with Charlie Ahern, Wild Style, you know what I mean? And having that special legendary moment that I got to talk about the first graffiti writers in the subways in New York City, and how they used to first do graffiti, and like, you know what I mean? Talking about the 8mm film that he would record on his, like, to make his movie. Yeah. You know, knowing that film was created in 1982. Stuff like that. Yeah. That really put me out there and being like, yo, this is why I do what I do. Yeah.
Wild Style is
True Styles from the Archivest.
Yeah. Wild Style is a iconic movie, you know, definitely one of the first of the hip hop. You know, again, documenting the history.
Speaking to Kid Capri and having him take me serious.
Kid Capri. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So did you interview him, or you just talk? Yeah.
Yeah. Another one in the bucket list. Yeah.
So what are some of the what are you doing now? What are some of the things you're working on now?
So first, I came back in December of 2022, and I got another interview with the legendary Danny O, who was part of Beat Factory Rap Essentials Volume 1. That's something I got to release very soon here. It's been too long to drop. And then recently I did an interview with Souls of Mischief. And it was the 93 Till Infinity 30th anniversary. And shouts out to Domino on that. He came through for me, and he remembered me 13 years ago. I didn't get Festo D in it because he was with his family, but it was still really cool to sit with all of them again. Re-document everything that they've done, pull out the CDs, talk about 93 Till Infinity, talk about the highlights, meeting A+, you know what I mean? And I didn't get to meet him last time because he's the one that didn't get across the border. So, and we know what it's like to not get across the border. And then so Festo, I wish he was there. Like, unfortunately he wasn't, but I got all three. I got the general, you know, from Souls of Mischief. A+. I got all his story. And last time I got Festo's story. So it's like...
So you got it.
Can combine little bits if I wanted to, but, you know, the new stuff that I did. And then just did Breakbeat Lou, which is from Ultimate Beats and Breaks. And he is supreme legend, you know, documenting about 50 years of hip-hop. They did 2 back-to-back shows.
Yeah.
Literally, the first night was sold out, and it was crazy. Like, to be able to document and witness that was awesome. You know, at Hollywood Theater, they got a great venue there. Shouts out to Jay Swink.
And what I like about Souls of Mischief, man, especially, I say, the past 10, 15 years, they've been kind of independent. Yeah. So they've been like touring the world just straight up on that independent grind.
They were really killing it, and Hyro Day was really a highlight too this year. And shouts out to Abstract Rude. He even had me document and do the Q&A for Project Blowed 26, the film.
Okay.
So I got an opportunity to work with him too this year. That was really cool. We've done various interviews throughout the years. I have another one I haven't even put out yet. That was from 2015. Okay. And that's super dope. Yeah. But he definitely like requested me to come through this year and just be like, I want you at my show. I want you to film. I want you to be there. I didn't expect it. But that was really cool to have that highlight and just be like, yo. And I felt the love. You know? There wasn't many of us. There was like, I don't know, 15 of us that got to see the film. And it was really cool because it was all because of what we've all gone through in the last few years. The struggles and tribulations of everything that was going on, you know what I mean? So, it was crazy to speak about that and just learn about the film. And then, you know, we've lost people like Ganja K, rest in peace, right? And talk about Freestyle Fellowship and see some really good, like some good things, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've been up to, as well as for the last few years, I've been working on a film that we were documenting different interviews and things. And we can put out the name. It's called North Flow. It's the history of Vancouver's like hip hop history from like 1984 to 2018, something like that. But not 2018. I mean, we're doing a segment of just 90s. So we did do things up to about 2010.
Okay.
But we're re-releasing things that will be from 2000 to 2010 just on my Check the Archives channel.
Yeah.
And we'll highlight those interviews and put those out for Vancouver people to see. But the actual film, if we were to work on everything, it will just be strictly 90s and then late 80s.
Okay.
So we have, you know, moments with like DJ Dave, Earl the Pearl, you know, like back in the day type stuff, you know, moments with Mocha when he first started, Prev. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different DJs, you know, that were like around in the 90s. Flip Out, we did like many hours with legendary Flip Out. Kiprios, you know, like, yeah, there's a lot of different people that were involved, like, to help out with that. But yeah, so we haven't really got it off the ground yet due to what I just said, the last 3 years of what we've gone through. It was a bit of a challenge. First, we had the Legendary Effects do a graffiti mural on what we were just, the whole COVID thing, and how it swallowed up our inspiration and vision.
Yeah.
Because people were like scared of the masks and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So it was hard for us to get done. But we still have about 3, maybe 4 interviews left to finish.
Okay.
Then we can start on the editing process.
Okay.
But till then, I should start dropping some 2010 type stuff if I can. I'm just a one-man show. It's tough to be able to get everybody on board, and you know, we're struggling with this inflation. We're struggling with all these things that are happening right now. Yeah. So it's just hard to be committed. I'm just waiting on getting a really nice computer so I can get things fired up. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it just seems different, you know, just because of, you know, all the different things with content now and what you can do and what you can release and what you can't release. I don't like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit tough for what I've been going through the last few years. It was hard for me to come back and be able to do this. So, I mean, I can't say that it was a bad thing. 3 interviews in the last year isn't too bad versus what I was doing before. Yeah, you were killing it, but, you know, it slowed down a bit for sure.
Yeah. So, anything in the future that you got kind of in your mind's eye, or that you some things you working on?
Well, like I said, the film. And I still have the social media stuff I've been doing. When it comes to just the creative process, I have to start just forking out all my stuff that I've done. I went through a little bit of it this year, just because I was inspired after Danny O. I dropped about 11 or 12 interviews back to back within 2 weeks. Okay. And that's where I put out Mac Miller, all the people that we lost, you know, and I wanted people to relive their legacies, you know, Biz Markie, Gift of Gab. Hopefully I'll re-release the interview with Zombie Zoom. I think I got 2 or 3 interviews with Zion I. Okay. Things like that. So, you know, it's hard to say that when you lose people that you knew, and then you want to try to relive the things that, you know, like when we lost Coolio, I re-released that immediately. You know, people need to know and realize what these things were done. I mean, I did it in 2011, but it was still a moment. I will never forget. You know, to be able to sit with a legend like himself, and you know, now that his legacy will live on with his music, fortunately he's not here in the presence. But, you know, I got those moments, you know.
Yeah.
I re-released the Dave New York because I wanted his son to experience that and feel it and know, you know, even though it was back in the day, I did it in 2010, but we shared on his accolades. You know, he was the rental car salesman. He did the Hummers for California Love.
Oh, yeah?
In the Tupac video.
Yeah.
And he used to rent all the cars out for Wu-Tang Clan. The old Mazda MPV back in the day.
MPVs, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For real.
Or like Rakim used to like this Mercedes wagon, like station wagon he had, like Black Thought and Questlove when they started like back in the day with the Roots, you know, and then he was Jay Dilla's best friend. Wow. So that was just like, and you know, some of the interviews I've done back in the day were freestyle. I didn't even write them. Mm-hmm. So if it was someone that I wanted to meet, I would do that off the bat if I didn't have anything rehearsed. So there's like all different types of things that, you know, I'm really proud of, that something like that with Dave New York. No one knows, but they need to see it.
Yeah.
They need to feel it, experience it. That's what real hip hop is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, I mean, just an incredible history, man. Incredible history. So you got the movie.
Yes.
You working on and releasing some footage, some interviews that you have sitting in the archives. Do you still? So you've been getting out to events and stuff?
I don't really go to many events anymore like I used to, just because things are totally different.
Yeah.
And it's not what it used to be. The invites and the highlights of what people would say before were a lot more positive. And nowadays it's like everything's costly. And I'm not able to do that for everybody because I'm not, you know, at that point where I could just be able to do that. But if people want me to come out, you know, you want me to come out to an event and check it out or film or whatever, you know, you got to just let me know and put me down and I'll come through. You know, and not to say it, but we've lost quite a few people in the Vancouver hip hop community too. Right?
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah. So if there's a aspiring videographer, somebody who wants to get into that,
there's a few out there already. Shouts out to them because I've seen them come up already.
Okay. Yep. So somebody that's just getting the camera and is like, yo, I want to do this. What are some of the lessons that you've picked up from your experience?
Just come professional. You know, make sure you have a good website and a .com presence with your email, and you know, chat with your email with a .com versus a Gmail or a Hotmail or Outlook. You know, and come professional. There's good places like, you know, Music BC that do things, put on seminars and stuff like that, networking events, etc. What else? Yeah, like have the right equipment, know that you know what you're doing, have proper PR, public relations, and don't get caught in he said, she said jargon. Try to stick to the business or what it is instead of taking sides or niching up with different groups or all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so business,
because there's just a lot of things that go on nowadays, and there's a lot of shady people out there too. Like they promise you something and then they don't come with their words, and you know what I mean? You just gotta keep your peace and just do it right.
Yeah, I know how that is. You definitely gotta watch it. Gotta watch the circle.
Yeah.
Watch your circle before it hurts you.
Right.
So let the people know where they can find you and, you know, some of your social media and your website.
Yeah, you can check me out on Check the Archives on YouTube. You can also check me out on TikTok at Check the Archives. that's really where I hang out. Or, I do post on Instagram as Check the Archives with a Z. So it's like Check the Archives with a Z letter at the end. Everything is just branded Check the Archives.
Okay.
And the Archivist. I don't really use the Facebook as much. I'm not, because of all this content creation stuff. I'm a little bit more low key. If you need to get at me, you can DM on Instagram, or you can get at me on TikTok. I try to go live on TikTok to let people know, share about different highlights and memories. If you want to get at me, it's like YouTube, or like you can message me on YouTube. You can get at me on Instagram, or you can get at me on TikTok.
Okay.
Or Facebook if you can find me, because I got many profiles there.
Okay. So any other last words or anything you want to say? Any shout outs?
I just want to thank you, of course, for the opportunity, and great meeting you at the Icon Hip Hop Block Party. Shouts out to them who have been busting their ass, putting in work. Seeing your highlight of emceeing, and I just figured I'd introduce myself to you. Of course, being in Recognized Magazine for March 2023 was a super highlight, 3-page write-up, straight out of New York City, baby, for the 50-year anniversary. And like I said, shouts to people who are checking out Beaumont Studios. Save the Beaumont Studio, of course. Keep it real. B-Side Radio, who've come through. And everybody who's supported me throughout the years, whether you've put me on a guest list, you've made me VIP, you've had me come for the Nightlife Awards, you've had me in a music video as a cameo, I've put out a lot of work. Shouts out to Todd White, who made the t-shirt, you know what I'm saying? And even the misspelling was a joke at first, and then it turned out to be me. And then, literally, I got it done on my knuckles, you know what I'm saying? We got Archivist on the knuckles. So it's just like, that whole bulletproof mind mentality, how it kind of came together. Shouts out to our pioneers. Flip Out, Jay Swing, Chemo, Checkmate Concise, all these people I met up with. Shouts out to Mercules, who's always had my back, since day one, since we worked together. Back in the day. Shouts out to Evil Ebenezer. He's come through for me. Always had love. Yeah, I could list everybody. Shouts out to Emotions, Danny and Lizzie. Yesterday, great fishing trip on the cabin cruiser with Rick. I've had these moments that it just never stops, and I appreciate all the highlights and career moments. Even sponsored by Rockstar Energy Drink back in the day. Shouts out to Bodo from Lunettes, who fixed my Gucci shades. You know what I mean? It's just so many people to name. Being on trading cards, hip hop trading cards, now being in magazines, cameos in music videos. Fans coming up to me, saying that back when they were young, they couldn't get into a club. And then they come up to me and take a picture with me and say, hey, man, I've been watching your stuff, your interviews since, we couldn't even get in the club. And now we're here taking a picture. You know what I'm saying? Eons and generations of people that have come through. And shouts out to everybody on the hustle who's hungry, who wants to do this. The list goes on. There's so many people that have had my back or helped me or invested or silently done something or, whatever. And shouts out to Red One. He's the one who put me on that Rock the Bells backstage. Everything was done the way it was done for somewhat of a reason or a manifestation or something that would happen. Shouts out to Nardwar, who's always held me down, gave me his first poster from 1987. You know what I'm saying? Before he even became Nardwar and the Evaporators, that was his whole thing. And co-signing the fact that I would do interviews and maybe I do sound like him, but it's all love in the end, and working together on certain things. Shouts out to FX, who's been through it with me to create this film, and like I said, everybody who's had my back. Shouts out to, I have to say it, shouts out to Kent, K-Rec, and
DJ K-Rec, I know K-Rec.
Yeah, and RC the Hazard, get well soon. We love you, a lot of people in the community, man. I could just keep going and going. Like I said, you'll go to the block party and you'll see what it is with people and how we come together. Welcome to East Van, baby. And shouts out to Junk, too, who's really holding it down for the city. Snack the Ripper, of course. Like I said, I just keep going. You know what I'm saying? I've just been like, I see people, they support me, I support them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whether it's a DM, whether it's fire emoji, whatever, And shouts out to you too, man, for like coming through and doing the MC thing and holding it down for Seattle and coming up here, man.
No doubt, man. You just doing what I love to do, man, and thankful I had this opportunity and this platform. Shout out to B-Side Radio, Beaumont Studios, Van City. As you can see, we got a legend in the house, man. Thank you for sharing your rich history, man. It's just, I can't believe like you've interviewed some of my favorite artists, the Rakim or KRS-One, you know what I mean, meeting Chuck D, I'm low key jealous of it. But thanks, man. Thanks for coming, taking time out your schedule and hanging out with a young old head like me and just sharing your story, man. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Like I said, it's gone a long way. These accolades that have happened this year hasn't been happening without just putting things out and letting people know that I'm still here. I have had quite a big battle in the last, like I said, 7 years, and I've felt some things that weren't feeling too good, but I got out of that, and I felt a new charge, and so that's what I've been doing since December, and it's all been going 360.
Yeah.
So we all struggle with our mental health or different things, and we all got to look out for each other. That's all I'm saying. Shouts out to all the people who even at my like bottom point, I'm still sober, staying 22 and a half years, almost going on 23. Michael Jordan levels. But we do struggle with mental health and depression, and we have to look out for each other.
Yeah.
There are some days that have been all right, and there's been other days that haven't been all right, and so I'm just trying to keep myself out there, and I've trudged through the battles, and I'm still here, and I'm not letting things change the way I look at perspectives. It's been tough, There's still, to this day, people have still tried to hold me back from doing the things that I do, but I feel that I'm just gonna keep it moving, y'all, and keep that train on full coal, burning the fire, and come back from the semi-retirement, because I went from times of giving up to coming back, and then now it's kind of just a go with the flow kind of feel.
Yeah.
And if I have the right money and investment and stuff, I will chase my dreams, and I'll keep doing that. And the moments that I've already had is just, I could pull them out. It would just be a whole table full of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been a good ride, and I don't tend to can't stop, won't stop. You know what I mean? It's gonna be something that is for a lot of Canadian hip hop history. You know what I mean? Yeah. When some of this stuff comes out, people won't believe it.
Yeah.
Because it's just I'm still to the point, when I'm editing and I do relive these moments, it's crazy. Yeah. I just light my soul on fire again and I get into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how it is, y'all.
Yeah. Well, once again, man, thank you for your contribution to the culture, especially here in the city, man, and don't stop You know what I mean? You know, this is hip hop. You keep it pushing. You know, and like you said, there's gonna be ups and downs, but each of those provides experience for us to share and give our testimony and inspire other people, man. So I'm pretty sure the work that you put in, you're going to see it inspire other people, man. So thanks again for stopping by.
Hell yeah. Thank you, my man. Peace and love.
All right.
You've been archived. It's the Archivist. Check the archives, baby. Let's go.
Yes, sir.